All right, this is section 4.6. If you need to know where we're at. This is completing the square. And what that means when you complete the square, like we did before when we factored, remember when we took it and we factored like this, we made factors and we were able to set these equal to 0, find out what numbers would make that polynomial go to 0? Well, this is essentially, this is the same thing, but what it's doing now is we're not given the whole equation. So you may get something like this. You may get something like x squared plus 4x. I'll use. Actually, that's kind of. I'm gonna use something else. Let's say 8. Let's say 8x. 8x equals 0. Now before it was kind of easy. We could just filter out an x here, right? And we could say x and x plus 8 equals 0. And we could figure out that it's 0 and negative 8 would be the two values. But we're going to complete the square on this. And there will be times when you cannot do what we just did, where you have to set up a complete the square. And here's how easy it is. You take, remember, this is my coefficient out in front of this is my A, this is my B, and then we're missing our C out here, right? Our B is going to be, we're going to take B, whatever that value is, we're going to divide it by 2. Whatever that value is, we're going to divide by 2, and then we're going to take this value here, and we're going to square it. And that then will be our C. Let me show you how that works. And write that down, Nick. All right. 2 squared is 4. Yeah. All right. Okay. In this case here, we're going to take 8. We're going to go 8 divided by 2, which equals 4. All right? To find our C, we're going to take 4 squared is going to equal C. So C is going to equal 16. Here's what we do for this now. What we do on one side of the equal sign, we have to do on the other side of the equal sign. So I'm going to put in my 16 for this. Write it over here. It's going to be x squared plus 8x plus 16 equals 16. Notice I put it on both sides of the equal sign. I added that 16 over. I actually added 16 to 0. This is 0 plus 16 right here. Okay, to come up with 16. And I'm able to figure out now what I'm going to set this equal to. At this point here, this value, what we figure out for this value here, our 4, is going to be right here, x plus 4 squared is going to equal 16. See what we did so far? X plus 4 equals 16 in the square. Because what I did is I took this 4 and I put it into here and I made it a square. If I was to square out x plus 4, I would come up with this equation right here. So far. Now remember, when we factored out that x and factored out, we figured out it was 0 and 8. Well, let's see if that works. X plus 4, if I set, now I've got a mess going on here. I'm going to erase some of this so that we can work, not have such a mess. If I take this now and start solving for this, I'll do the square root of both sides, won't I? To get rid of my x squared, or this squared right here. So I'll end up with x plus 4 equals plus or minus. When we take the square root, it's always plus or minus. Square root of 16 is 4. So we'll set this up as x plus 4 equals 4, and x plus 4 equals a negative 4. All right? Subtract 4 from both sides here, x equals 0. Subtract 4 from this both sides here, x equals a negative 8. Which is exactly what we do. If we took the x out up here, we'd have x and then x plus 8 here equal to 0. X could equal 0, and x plus 8 would equal 0. X equals a negative 8. Those are my two values. Pretty easy to see like that, correct? You can see what we're doing. You see it works. That's what I want you to notice. It works. Let's take a look at it from a little bit harder view. Well, not really a harder view, but we're going to look at it from a view of, I don't know what I can come up with here. I'm going to say x squared plus 8x minus 32 equals 0. Can we factor out 32? Can we come up with anything that has a difference of 8? Because this is a negative. Anything that has a difference of 8. Can we? We got what? 1 and 32, 2 and 16, 3, 4 and 8. We can't come up with a difference of 8 though. So there really isn't a clean way to factor this, is there? So let's do it this way. Let's complete the square. What I'm going to do in this case is I'm going to bring my 32 to the other side. X squared plus 8x equals, I'm going to add 32 to both sides, 32. Now I'm going to take a look at this 8. What do I do with that 8? I divide it by 2 and square it. So if I take 8 divided by 2 and I square this value, 8 divided by 2 is 4, squared equals 16. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to add 16 to both sides. So I have x squared plus 8x plus 16 equals 32 plus 16 is 48. I know that I can factor this into a square, x plus 4, because that's the number that went right in here. That's the number I'm going to put in there. Squared equals 48. Take the square root of both sides. X plus 4 equals a plus or minus square root of 48. Can we evenly take the square root of 48? 49 we can, but we can't do 48, right? At this point here, here's what I want you to do. If it's not a perfect square, leave it like it is. I don't need you to factor out a 2 out of that, so or a 4 out of that to come up with, well, you take 16 out of it probably. No, it's not done yet. Because my answer here is x equals minus 4 plus or minus the square root of 48. That would be your answer. See what I did? I subtracted my 4 from both sides. All right? I subtracted 4 from both sides. So this would be my answer. That is the answer, is the factor of this right here. You see what I did, Reese? That's called completing the square. Let's do one more. What do you want to do? What numbers do you want me to do? 102 and 101. Okay. You want to square? You want to square 52 or 51? You're whacked. We don't have that up here. I'm not squaring it. Plus or minus? Minus? Minus what? 49? X? Why would you do that? Minus 49x. And do we want to put a number on this? Yeah, we want to put a number on this. Let's do a plus, what? 7 or let's do 10. All right? I don't want it. Right? Equals 0. Actually, that'll be a really tough one. No, 7 isn't going to work either. I just want to go with a bigger. I'm going to put 40 here. I want to go with a bigger number. Okay? We'll just put 40 there. Okay, first thing we have to do is bring that 40 over. X squared minus 49x equals a negative 40. Take half. Well, this ain't going to work real good. Take half of that. It's going to come up with a fraction. Should we make it 48? We'll make it 48. So we're not dealing with fractions, right? X squared minus 48x. So half of 48 is 24 squared. What's 24 squared? Come on. Well, 25 squared is what? 625? 24 squared. What's 24 squared? Who's got a calculator out? Phone it. Phone it. Go ahead. 5 something, I bet. 576. 576. So we're going to go a plus 576 equals, we add this would be 536. So now we can do a square of x minus 24 equals 536. We have x minus 24 equals plus or minus the square root of 536. We have x equals 24 plus or minus the square root of 536. That would be your answer. Okay? Did you see how I did that? Pretty easy? Completing a square? The key is to take that b, divide it by 2 and square it, and then that's what you have to add to both sides. But when you divide that by 2, that number you come up with, that's going to be your number that's going to go in here. Okay? All right. There's some practice problems here. You see what they did right here. X squared plus 12x plus 36 equals 25. How would you figure that out? Grab out on your piece of paper, get a piece of paper out, try and work on it. This one right here. X squared plus 12x plus 36 equals 25. It's going to turn out right. Let's see what you can do, huh? Try to. Don't know if I can or not yet.